Hi guys, I'm Abhishek. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing good. So in this video, we're gonna discuss about why is astrology pseudoscience. I'm sure you guys are familiar with astrology and that you've read your horoscope in the newspaper often or even online. Astrology is the assertion that the movements and relative positions of planets, sun, moon and other celestial bodies has an influence over your lives and destiny, as well as the natural world. The earliest use of such practices dates back to thousands of years ago. In China it started around 5,000 years ago and in India around 4,000 years ago. But the modern developed and organized version of astrology started in Babylonia around 4,000 years ago. And even Indian astrology is actually plagiarized from Babylonian astrology. So the Babylonians looked up at the night sky and they divided the sky into 12 equal slices. And now what we know as the signs of the zodiac, like Capricorn, Pisces, Aquarius, etc. So there are various versions of astrology, but all of them are based on the same principle, that is, they affect your lives and destiny. Now, let's have a look at how it works. For example, suppose you're born on January 1st under the sign zodiac sign Capricorn. What astrology says is that this on your birthday, the sun passes through the constellation Capricorn, and during that zodiac sign Capricorn, during that month, the sun makes its way through that constellation, and by the time it reaches Aquarius, it would have passed completely through the constellation Capricorn. This is how it works. But astrologers back then didn't know that it's not the sun that's moving, but it's the earth that revolves around the sun. So the ancients looked up at the night sky, they saw the stars and put their culture on the sky. Oh, look at that! That looks like a bull, doesn't it? So the bull constellation, Taurus, similarly, lion, scorpion, fish, crab, archer, mountain goat, water bearer, etc. Stuff that mattered to people back then. So not only that, by analogizing stuff that they know with the constellations that they see in the sky, it was easier for them to remember these constellations, and that would help them in timekeeping and knowing the directions. In fact, astrology developed with a need for timekeeping and to know the directions, and it requires studying the sky. For example, if you look at the pole star, you can know which direction you're heading. You know that the pole star is situated towards the north, and you can figure out all of the directions. Similarly, you look at the sun, we know that sun rises in the east, we can figure out all of the directions. So this helped them actually in trading. We know that back then barter system was prevalent and they used to exchange goods for goods. So they had to travel long distances. So to travel long distances, it was necessary for them to have an idea about direction as well as time, and astrology helped them in that. They came up with imaginative analogies to remember these constellations. So 3,000 years ago, the idea developed that motion of planets determine the fates of kings, dynasties, empires, etc. Astrologers study the motion of planets and ask themselves, what had happened the last time that Venus had, say, passed through the goat constellation? Maybe even this time around the same event would occur. It was a subtle and risky business, but it was fraud. Astrology survived and flourished. Why? Because it seems to lend a cosmic significance to our daily lives. It pretends to satisfy our longing to feel personally connected with the universe. If our lives are controlled by signals in the sky, why even trying to change it? Let's face it, guys, astrology, these stars and constellations are just random set of stars separated in the sky. They don't even look like what they're supposed to look like, what astrologers claim that they look like. Out of the 88 constellations, only 6 of them, 88 constellations that are recognized by NASA, only 6 of them even look like what they're supposed to look like. Now the zodiac actually contains not 12 but 14 constellations. I bet you didn't know that earlier. The additional 2 are called Ophiuchus and Cetus, which are not included in the zodiac. An interesting scientific conclusion is that most Scorpios are actually Ophiuchans, and that all Ophiuchans and Scorpios are actually Librans. Sounds stupid and counterintuitive, doesn't it? Now I'll explain to you how that happens. This phenomenon is called Precession of the Equinoxes. What happens is that rotating and revolving bodies have this tendency to precess. We've all played with tops, right? Tops don't always spin parallel to the surface. Their axis wobble and they spin together with a wobble. Similarly, for example, take this elliptical path as the path in which the earth revolves around the sun. Even this elliptical path wobbles, Take earth for example, and let this be its axis. We all know that the axis of the earth is 23.5 degrees tilted away from the perpendicular to the equatorial plane. So even that axis, that doesn't stay there, it wobbles. So it completes a full wobble in 26,000 years. So suppose you're standing on the North Pole and look up in the night, you will see the Polaris, the North Pole star, right? But 3,000 years back from now, it was not the pole, it was not Polaris, it was some other star. In 3,000 years from now, it would be some other star. Scientists have even figured out what that star would be. Not only that, even constellations have changed their positions due to this precession. So what they figured out is that the constellations have shifted 1.5 zodiac signs. That is, if you're a Capricorn, you might actually be Aquarius, and if you're Aquarius, you might actually be Pisces. So it has shifted. Even constellations have shifted. This is due to the precession of the equinoxes. The Earth's position relative to the constellations is not a constant. It keeps on changing with time. The astrologers back then didn't know about this stuff, and they based their astrology on this ignorance. Let's face it, guys, astrology is not science. It is pseudoscience. It is not based on evidence. Its conclusions are not testable. It isn't open to review by other scientists. It is unfalsifiable. The assertions of astrology are so boring, predictable and vague that we can always find a way to see it in a factual way, can't we? We saw this effect in James Randi's astrology test. So what James Randi did was, he brought participants and made them read specific horoscopes based on when and where they were born. After reading, they all rated their horoscopes as very or extremely accurate. Then they were passed their neighbors' horoscopes, and then I read that and learned that all of them were given the same horoscopes. Isn't that funny? Other scientists have also looked at astrologers' claims about careers. The idea is that if you're born under the influence of Mars, which is a warlike planet, then you will be born a soldier or an athlete. But we know that the red color of Mars is not because of blood, it is because of iron oxides present there, and that Venus produces more artistic type of guys. All these predictions were inaccurate. In a study of 25,000 Frenchmen in the 1960s, a French psychologist, Michel Gauquelin, found no correlations at all. He even mixed birth charts of 10 murderers with 10 innocent people, mixed them up, gave it to the astrologers and asked them to figure out which one was whose, and they failed miserably. Yet another study was done in 2007 and they found that the astrologers were even more wrong than random chance. A similar study was done at the University of Manchester in 2001. They looked at love compatibility of 10 million couples in Britain. They took data from the British census, and they found that not even a single pairing showed a greater or lesser chance of romantic success. Here's a little experiment that you can do for yourself. The next time you see a horoscope section, cover up the zodiac signs and read all of those and figure out which one is yours. The probability that you will find yours is just 1 by 12. That doesn't make it interesting. If you read a bunch of newspapers, if you read a bunch of horoscopes from different newspapers and compare them, all of the same zodiac sign, they would all be different, or they would all be vague. But if horoscope is real, don't you think that they should be the same? Have you noticed the way that the horoscopes are written? They would say huge changes are in store, or you are bound to lose some money today, or today you will encounter a couple of surprises. They won't say that after 10 o'clock one of your ex-girlfriends is gonna text you. If horoscopes is true, everybody born under the same sign in the same place on the same day would have exactly the same personality. But that's not the case. Take twins for example. I'm pretty sure that you are aware of of twins who have different destinies. There have been many cases of twins in which one of the twin dies in an early age and the other twin leads a prosperous life. These are not even prediction, guys. They tell you what to do, not what's gonna happen. They're so vague. They're consciously designed in a vague way because such that it could apply to anybody. So there are many people who claim that the sun and the moon and the planets and the stars have a gravitational effect on our lives and our future. But let me tell you guys, the obstetrician that helps in the delivery of child from your mother's womb has more of a gravitational effect on you than the celestial bodies. Yes, the celestial bodies are big, but the doctor is much closer to you. That the force between you, between the child and the doctor will be more than that between the child and the celestial bodies. If you're a science guy, you already know that F equal to G into M1 M2 by R square, where R is the distance between the two bodies, and the lesser the distance, the more will be the force. Yes, the sun is massive, but the distance compensates for that. Some people claim that the moon causes tides. It must have an effect on life and destiny. But hey, how can it affect our future? How can it affect our life? It's all false. There are people who also claim that light rays reflect off of celestial bodies and reach us, and when we are born, that affect our future. But hey, you are born in a closed room where the photons that strike you would be from tube lights and other artificial sources of lights, not celestial bodies. And moreover, wouldn't the date of conception in which the ovum fertilizes with the sperm matter more than the day when you were born? For example, your brain, your DNA and the genetics are figured out much long before you exit the birth canal. There is a reason astrology is placed next to the comic strips in the newspaper. It's all entertainment, guys. But let's face it, guys, astrology gives you a sense of connection. An egocentric, narcissistic and pseudoscience philosophy of astrology attracts people and catches the attention of people. Now let me tell you what the most interesting, astounding and fascinating fact is for me in this universe. The most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then they exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, and form the next generation of solar systems. Stars with orbiting planets, and those planets have the ingredients for life itself. So when I look up at the night sky and I know that yes, we're a part of this universe, we are in this universe, and perhaps more important than that is the fact that the universe is in us. Not only that we are in this universe, but we are the universe. When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they are small and the universe is huge, but I feel big because my atoms come from those stars. There is a level of connectivity. That's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected, don't you? You want to feel relevant. That's precisely what we are doing just by being alive. Thank you.